He's fairer than 10,000 to my soul. All right, maybe I will turn that off here. Maybe not. I need the brethren, a couple of men to extricate the chalkboard. Whoever. Norman's in retirement. Michael's coming from the we put Norman in retirement because he used to walk from over there to there with a spring in his steps, and it was almost like his steps were labored tonight, and so we just appreciate the fact that he's here.
We on the other side?
Yes, that's where it goes, because I'm using that side too. Using both. I just have to pull, you know how to get it over there, pull this back, we'll be on. I hope you're not recording all of the.
Yeah.
I made sure I hit that stuff.
Of course we are.
I'm glad Gabby didn't hear me say that.
Well, when you,
Too late now, you're on.
we're setting the stage up, folks. All right, well, we've been doing this study in Daniel chapter 8. We're halfway through the chapter, and I am trying to show how that, this is not quite in focus. There. It gets moved around and it doesn't keep its focus. I've been trying to show how I come up with 110 days here, short of Armageddon, that the remnant of the woman's seed, Israel, according to Revelation chapter 12, toward the end of that chapter, we're not told altogether how it's done, but they bravely recapture Jerusalem. We know that because the 23 evening and morning sacrifices that had not existed, had not been offered from the point where the beast, the Antichrist, comes to power here halfway through the tribulation period, 3.5 years before Armageddon. Those sacrifices get started again. And I've tried to do this, and I just thought having it spelled out might be a help. We have the 20, and this is in Daniel 8, 14, and 26, where you have a reference to the vision of the morning and evenings. And the answer to the question, how long are the daily sacrifices to be stopped, when the little horn, which we believe is the Antichrist, comes in and takes over, is given unto 2,300 days. But in the Hebrew, could be in the Aramaic, I hadn't checked on that yet, because Daniel, parts of Daniel is in Hebrew and parts of it is in Aramaic. Now I know the last chapter was in Aramaic, chapter 7. So it's possible that chapter 8 is likewise in Aramaic. But in the original text, it said 2,300 mornings and evenings, the M and the E. Down in verse 26, we are reflecting back on that vision, and we are told that the vision of the evening and morning, which was told, is true. Unfortunately, as I've said, the King James doesn't tell you before verse 26 what the evening and mornings are. They're here. And you divide that by 2, because how many evening and mornings are there in a day?
2?
Yeah, well,
One each.
but
One evening,
But-
one morning.
One day.
but it's one day is what I'm trying to say. I didn't ask the right question. You know, if you don't ask the right question, you don't get the right answer. And so I divide that by 2, and that gives us 1,150 days. Now, we've already had established from the preceding chapter and from Revelation 12 and 13 the time of the reign of the man of sin is 42 months, or 1,260 days that Israel is going to be fleeing into the wilderness. And so we start out with the 1,260 days. Why do we subtract the 1,150 days from the 1,260? Because I believe they start at the same time. At the time when the man of sin, the Antichrist, goes in and establishes himself as an object of worship in the temple, he stops the sacrifices, the morning and evening sacrifices that was being offered according to Jewish traditions to the true God, and it puts himself there in that place at the very point where he takes over. He stops those morning and evening sacrifices, and there's 2,300 of them, morning and evening sacrifices, that aren't offered. And we decided that covered 1,150 days. So if his total reign in full power, time times and half a time, which is 1 year, the dual in the Aramaic in the last chapter, times means 2 years. We don't have anything like that in English. We don't have a dual. We have singular and plural, but they have a dual. So we know it's exactly 3 times or 3 years, and then a half a time, which is a half a year. That squares with the record in Revelation, the 1,260 days that the woman is to flee to the wilderness in Revelation 12, and the 42 months, given 30 days to a month on the Jewish calendar, the 42 months that the beast or the Antichrist is to be in full power. This means something happens 110 days before you get to the 1,260th day, 60th day. What happens on that last day is that we're coming back. Is it okay for me to say it that way? Christ is coming back with his saints. Jude said, what is it, the 14th verse of Jude? Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon the ungodly. This is Armageddon, this bold line here. But 110 days before you get here, something happens, and sacrifices are reinstated there at Jerusalem while the Antichrist is out and about. And I'll get to more of the reasons why he's out and about. I dealt with that a little bit last week. But when we get to the 11th chapter. Okay. I might need that on again here pretty shortly. But we are now going on down to, I think I may have covered verses 15 and 16. Did I last week? Who remembers where I stopped last week? In chapter 8. No one remembers? Well, I'm assuming then we need to start at verse 15. Who wants to read verses 15 and 16 of Daniel 8?
And it came to pass, when I, even Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. You ever read what it says?
The next verse.
No, okay. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which is called, and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
Okay. We've had the vision, and I've already gone into some explanation of it already. As we went through the first half of this chapter, the first half gives the visual aid. You see what was being done. Now the last half of this chapter is giving the angelic interpretation. And I want someone to read verses 17, 18, and 19, the next 3 verses.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee known what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be.
So Daniel is being told here that although part of this vision relates to things that are even present and shortly to come to pass, as we saw in the ram and the he-goat with the notable horn, which pictured the Medes and the Persians and the Grecian kingdom under Alexander the Great. Daniel is told that, look, this vision is an end-time vision. It's for a yet much distant future. And in the last end of the indignation, it will be at the time appointed. Do you have the NIV over there? Can you read? Do you have NIV?
I've got that.
Oh, it's King James. Okay. Do you have the Amplified? I'm wanting a different translation. Yes.
How about this one here?
I don't care, whatever it is. Read verse 19, please.
Okay, verse 19. And I said, I am showing,
He said, and he said. Should be.
oh, and said, I am showing you what the result of God's anger will be. The vision refers to the time of the end.
Yes, the vision is looking to the time of the end. Do you have the Amplified there? Read verse 19, please.
Okay, 8, Daniel 8.
Yes.
Okay. And he said, Behold, I will make you know what shall be in the latter time of indignation of God upon the ungodly. For it has to do with the time of the end.
Now who wants to read the next verse?
20.
Whatever that next verse is.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
The 2 horns. Picture these 2 powers within this one empire, the Medes and the Persians. Eventually the Persians got the ascendancy. The Medes were more the initial endeavors of that company. And he's telling you here, just like what I told you before, that the ram was the picture of the Medes and Persians. Who has the next verse?
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia,
Grisha.
and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
And who was that first king of that empire? Alexander the Great. Again, is that telling you anything that I hadn't told you before? But now the angel is telling you, not just your pastor. And so that perhaps carries a little bit more weight there. But we take this yet further. Who wants to read verse 22? Go ahead.
And as for the horn which was shattered, in whose place 4 others arose, 4 kingdoms shall arise out of his nation, but not having his Alexander's power.
Yes. There's going to be 4 other horns in the place of that original single horn representing Alexander the Great. And these other 4 horns together are not going to be as great as Alexander the Great. But something will be greater, and that's going to be the little horn. And he's not called now. He is not called the little horn in verse 23. But I want you to see this very clearly. I'm going to read this myself. And in the latter time of their kingdom, we're thinking about that territory that Alexander the Great had ruled over and how it was split up among the 4 around 301 BC. And in the latter time of their kingdom, remember, God still looks at what is in existence in our day as supporting all these other kingdoms. Remember Nebuchadnezzar's image?
Yeah.
The gold, the silver, the brass, and the iron and the clay are all in God's picture demolished at the same time. They have, as we read in Daniel 7, their lives, their dominion taken away, but their lives is extended for a season at a time. And so the culture is still in the earth today. And in the latter time of their kingdom, this brings us down to our day. Verse 23, when the transgressors are come to the full. Wow. What a commentary about our modern age, our current time, when transgressors, instead of being put down by truth, by morality, by God consciousness, is going the reverse way.
That's right.
And when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance